This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Pod. This is the week in review of May 14th, 2022. We are going to talk a lot related on... I screwed up your shot here, Phil. I'm going to fix your camera. For those that are watching, Phil's head was cut off. I fixed it. We've got a lot of trip-related stuff that we're going to talk about, right? Because I'm in the midst of trip planning, so a lot of these things are heavily relayed, biased towards what I'm going through right now. So everybody gets to learn with me and practice with me because this will be my first trip with Genie Plus. So I'm kind of learning about that. We're going to wish Matt safe travels. He's traveling in the morning that this is going out on Monday the 16th. So he requested that we put out the episode rather early, so he gets to listen to it on the plane on the way down to Disney World with his friends. So that being said...
So by the time you're listening to it, Matt's probably secured 700 different Genie Plus Lightning lanes based on all the reminder alarms he's set in his phone.
He's inspired me to like actually learn more about Genie, like not learn about Genie Plus, but like learn like the deep dive on getting the
like
data
strategize a little
with, like,
and stuff. Yeah.
Like what is it, thrillData.com, knowing when like the average, like what do you flow style or do you stack style? I mean, like there's like all these. I'm like, this is I love it. This is great, but. Matt's my Yoda in this one until I do it. So that being said, I'm in the midst of planning first trip with hoppers, adults only, with the wife. And my open question to you, Phil, is if you had hoppers, what would be the best number of parks per day to do, and in what order?
Yeah, so for me, we don't have hoppers very often, so I'm probably not the best person.
This is your imagination, right? I mean, like
so I'm probably going to be more less, I guess, aggressive than maybe others might be. But I think doing more than two is a lot. I think two is good because you can it kind of almost feels like two separate days. You break it up around lunch or whatever. I guess you could do three if you're doing like Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios because they're all kind of close and easy to get from one to the other. But I think two is the best.
I expect that you're right on that one, just until you have to experience.
I mean,
yourself,
I see people do like the 4-park challenge, and it's something to do and accomplish or something like that. But if I'm trying to get a lot out of my day, I think if you spend so much time hopping, then you're missing out on time.
Well, yes, I generally agree with you, but with it's just because it's the wife and we're going to do a 4-park challenge. Who was it on Discord that inspired? Was it Gina that inspired everything?
Dina was the one who posted all her, like how she was getting all the lightning lanes and going from park to park and walking 15 miles and yeah.
So we
I was getting tired just reading it.
So what are we going to do? So a 4-day trip. On our second day, I'm going to wake up. We're going to go to Animal Kingdom because assuming the times are the same as they are right now.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom at 7:00 all the way through lunch. We're going to make our way to Magic Kingdom. No, excuse me. We're going to make our way to Epcot, Skyliner to Hollywood Studios. No, reverse that. Gosh, I'm getting this wrong already. I just came up with this morning. Hollywood Studios to Epcot, monorail to Magic Kingdom, where we finish the day, right? Because that makes most sense when you're not on the bus as much, right?
Yep.
I don't know how this is going to work at all. I mean, is this going to be like, what are we doing to ourselves? Because basically you're at 7 to 2 at Animal Kingdom, so that's 5, 6, 7 hours, or 7. Probably there's 6 hours because you leave around 1:00. I would imagine. Yeah. And then 1 or 2 hours at Hollywood Studios and Epcot each, and then the rest of the day at Magic Kingdom because it closes at 11, so you're there pretty late. Want to get there at least by 9. So I guess you have like 2 to I don't know, 2 to 7, 2 to 8 to kind of do 2 parks. So you can split them 3 hours and 3 hours, 2 hours and 4 hours, see what happens. And then I'm getting heartburn on, I don't know why we're doing like a planning. This is a cold open question. I don't want to keep going on. So I expect it's 2. The reason why I say this, it's because our first day there, we're gonna get into Caribbean Beach Resort, hop over to Hollywood Studios right before lunch, probably around like 10, 11 o'clock, and then make our way over to Magic Kingdom later in the day. And I'm like, oh man, why don't I use my hoppers and do like Hollywood Studios, jump over to Epcot for some like taste of food and wine before I go over to Magic Kingdom and end our first day there. Then I'm thinking to myself, well, that's a lot to do on your first day. Like the idea of like 3 parks for the sake, just because you can, is rather tiring to me. I'm only doing the 4 parks because when else am I going to have a chance to do this right now? So I'm going to see if we can do it. But we could always kind of pull the ripcord out if this is it's not
I do think that the 3 parks you laid it out, like start at Hollywood Studios and kind of like, rope drop rise or whatever you're doing, and then go over to Epcot and then eat and monorail up to Magic Kingdom. That's like not crazy, but like for your first day, I think that's just because the modes of transportation are relatively easy. You're not waiting for buses and stuff like that. I think you could do that.
I mean, with being able to get into Animal Kingdom at 7 o'clock in the morning, like we could go over there, try to get, either rope drop, flight of passage, or buy an individual lightning for it or something.
Yeah.
Kind of try to get some passes for some of the other rides, or maybe they're not going to be that. It's a Thursday morning, so maybe they're not too busy at that point. And then go back to the resort, have lunch, and like go to the pool because we're going to be there at 7. Let's say we're there only 3 hours. It's still 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And then go over to Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Magic Kingdom. So at least you have like a little break.
Yeah, for that 4 park challenge, that whole 2 p.m. hopping thing really kills you, right? Like if you could hop at even 11 or something, it would make. But Animal Kingdom, like you said, you have half your day there before you can hop. I know. And then you only have the other half day for the other 3 parks. But
if they were to drop that hopper penalty to like, let's say even noon.
Even noon, right?
That'd be great. Tangent. I was on www.magic.com, their forums, and somebody brought up a good point that I never really thought about, and it makes complete sense. It's like the parks are so congested at like noon to like 2 o'clock, only because they're basically stuck there. If they had annual passes or they had hoppers, they can't go anywhere. So they're not leaving. They're not going back to the resort. They're not doing anything. And I think if you kind of let everybody go and kind of spread out, right? If you're at one particular park, just, go. Maybe that's why Hollywood Studios gets all loaded up, because everybody's trying to get the particular ride. And then if they can't, right, let's say they missed the lightning lanes or missed the standby, or it was down, they're like, all right, now we're locked in Hollywood Studios for the next 7 hours. And most people aren't leaving to go back to the resort at that point. They're like, well, I'm going to enjoy my $120 or $160 ticket, whatever the cost with the hopper, that type of thing. So hopefully that changes. But I think, kind of round it out, I think 2 is the appropriate answer, with maybe like you split the day in half. So you do a morning park and an evening park with some resort food, whatever. In our last day there, we have a full Magic Kingdom day. We're not hopping, I don't think. And then we're going to be doing a monorail loop, basically go to all the resorts. And
so use that as kind of your break for the day.
Grab some snacks, that type of thing, and check it out. I think that it might be fun. Anyway, let's go on to welcoming a new Discord member this week, Ryan W. He's already started participating in the conversation. We welcome you to the community, and hopefully you're here for the long term and kind of contribute and hang out. So for those for you out there that are listening that have not been on Discord yet, make sure you jump on. Links are everywhere, so click on one of them and pop on. And if they're not working for whatever reason, hit Phil up on social media, and he'll make sure you get the appropriate one to get you on there. What's the Disney Comeback Index? I haven't listened to Matt's latest podcast yet. I got a lot of driving this week, so I'm saving it. What is the
so there hadn't been any updates since the last week, but this past episode for the Happily Everything Disney podcast, Matt did a short solo episode where he basically provided kind of like a 15-20 minute update on the DCI, and he kind of went through section by section, kind of saying where are we at, what are the like outstanding elements, that type of thing. So sort of going category by category, giving a a status check. So for those of you who have been playing along with the home edition of the DCI, you might find that interesting just to hear, okay, well, what are we waiting for? I thought everything was back in this area. Well, no, actually there's, bubble perks that aren't back, or certain dining things, or, all the character meats changed over, but there's still a lot missing. And, so he really kind of brings up some things that maybe not everyone always thinks about, but are still, missing from what was pre-COVID time. So,
yep. It's a good update. Okay. So at the top of the show, my wife picked out this week's topic. Thank you, Cindy, who doesn't listen to the show at all. Anyway, but this is kind of relevant because one of, we were doing some trip planning last night, trying to pick out the cadence as I was referring to in the cold open. And she was like, I don't want to see the fireworks every single night, right? I don't like being packed in there every single night. It's just too much. I'll do it once. So we were ending up, the way things are up right now, we're at Magic Kingdom at the last part of the day every day because it's open till 11 o'clock, right? So we're going to make our way out there. I said, well, I only want to see Enchantment once. That's all I need to see it, like full on from Main Street type of thing. And then I'm good to do whatever else that you want to do at the park. So I guess her brain was churning overtime today, and she was and as she was kind of doing some things around the house, and she's like, I've got the perfect top 5 for you this week's show. And the top 5 attractions to go on during fireworks at the Magic Kingdom. Now, there's 2 different ways you can look at this, Phil. I don't know where your brain is going, whether that ride is a good viewing vehicle or whether it's a good time to go on that attraction because no one's on it and the lines are worse or less. So which way did you go with some of your rides selections here?
Yeah, so the first place I went, and maybe before I get into that, I will just add, this actually was a fairly relevant topic for us too, because I was thinking a similar thing in that, we've seen Enchantment a few times. We really don't like being packed in on Main Street and having to get there like 45 minutes early and stuff like that. So then I was like, well, what do we do? I was looking at, do we do a dessert party? But now I have 2 of my kids are Disney adults, so that's freaking expensive to pay for that for everybody.
Thank you.
So then I was like, well, maybe we'll just watch it from like Fantasyland or something like that, where you get to see the fireworks. They're kind of all around you. You don't see the projections, but it's obviously a much less stressful way to watch them. But then when this topic came, I was like, oh yeah, maybe we'd take advantage of that time and do some more, because we only have the one Magic Kingdom day. Take advantage and do some more rides. So I will say that my brain first went to rides that would be cool to ride while the fireworks are going on and you could see some of them. So the first 2 that came to mind were the People Mover and Big Thunder Mountain.
Big Thunder Mountain. That's interesting. Okay. I went for the same way in your thinking. I went Splash Mountain to see if you can time it as you're going over and seeing the fireworks, right?
Yeah.
Which might be difficult getting on the line and kind of not missing the whole thing. But then I went Astro Orbiter as my number 2.
Okay.
Just for viewing. And then People Mover was number 3 for me. Because I think People Mover might be you might be able to see it, but in the sky, and it's going to be like behind a lot of the buildings a little bit potentially.
Yeah.
For that, but it might be as like, it's one of my favorite rides. It's just kind of cool to kind of relax. And
I was going to say also the relaxing part, right? Just kind of chill there and ride around, and you see them, and then you go around Space Mountain, and then you come out, you can see them again and stuff like that.
So now the other half of this is I picked. I mean, like I would seriously consider Splash, Astro Orbiter, to be like a viewing vehicle. I don't think I would do People Mover. Doing this because I mean the show was what 20-ish. 15, 20 minutes long?
It's only about 15.
Yeah.
It's a little shorter than like Harmonious is 22.
So it's not like you're going to be able to do 2 of these things.
Yeah.
So you got to pick viewing. I mean, I would look on wait times for Splash and Astro Orbiter to see what it is. Then again, now that I'm thinking about it, Astro Orbiter might be a little too quick and then like too fast for actually seeing something. So maybe you're right with People Mover number 2. Okay, so if you're not doing a viewing ride, what are you walking over to?
So I guess I'm thinking of all the high, weight rides. So, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Jungle Cruise. I know that's a popular one for people to jump on right after the fireworks. So I would think during it should be a pretty good time for that. Maybe Space Mountain, I guess, while you're over there. Maybe you could do that, do the People Mover, and then hop on Space Mountain before the fireworks have finished or something. But those are the 3 that kind of come to mind as far as wait times.
Now I'm trying to buy the hour by hour, and I can't find it exactly right now, but throwdata.com usually has a pretty good recollection of wait times per hour. and I'm trying to see historical. And I can't find it on the fly. I have to kind of do it better. But anyway, like you could probably track by wait time. There's data all over the place. There's a lot of different websites that you could go to, and you can find what wait times drop at the 9 o'clock hour, and maybe choose 2 or 3 to potentially try to get on. Because if the park usually empties out probably 30 minutes before fireworks start. Empty out meaning everybody gets towards Main Street in the hub, right? So everybody's starting to kind of glom in the middle. So wait times are going to artificially start shrinking in preparation for the show, and then the rides are going to be clear for the show itself. So I think the best thing is you pick 2 to 3 rides, two attractions that you want to get on, be it like Peter Pan and then Mine Train. They're right next to each other, or whatever. Stay on like Mine Train because that line's going to be the longest anyway. It might be less. Get on that, get off of that, and head over to Peter Pan, or vice versa. I'm thinking most people will likely to be wait online for Mine Train because it's much more popular, and Peter Pan's usually the second most popular ride in the park. So that might be a good way to kind of take advantage of that. You're typing in something. Did you see?
I was looking up because I had quickly looked at what are the rides that are good to do during fireworks, to see the fireworks from, and one site recommended Dumbo. And I was trying to think from Dumbo, from Storybook Circus, how is the view? Because I'm not sure if they were thinking, because it might have been the old location of Dumbo versus the new one.
Well, you're lower down, first of all. There's more trees.
Yeah. I was just thinking, theoretically, it is kind of, a decently long ride. You're kind of in that one spot. You might be able to see the fireworks pretty good from it. It's fairly open. But
well, I mean, you're not looking at the castle anymore, but you're looking behind the park, right?
Yeah.
So if you are facing the queue at Dumbo, the fireworks are probably going on around like 4 or 5 o'clock. If I had to, no, 3, 4 o'clock probably. Somewhere in that quadrant, because they're behind the park at that point. So I don't know if you're going to get a good view of that or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now you have to go on Google Maps and
I was trying. Yeah, I know.
But okay, so are you planning? Well, how would you plan firework attractions? How would you go? I'm thinking like Mine Train, and then like running over to like Haunted Mansion, or do the Adventureland, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Jungle Cruise, one of those, combination of those, or the two, or Splash Mountain / Thunder Mountain. You might be able to get both of those in because they're all kind of close together.
Yeah, that's jumping out at me, doing Splash and Big Thunder. They're right kind of there, and at least hopefully you time it right where you're on one of them while fireworks are going on. The other way I could see doing it is I would like to try the People Mover and then like see some of the fireworks there and then get online for another, like go over to Mine Train or go on Space Mountain or something after that.
Space Mountain work, Mine Train or Seven Doors Mine Train would probably be okay, but if you're trying to crisscross the park, just be mindful everybody and their mother is in the middle of the park. You are not getting through.
Yeah, I didn't think I was thinking from Tomorrowland you could kind of go up that sideway.
You can get to Mine Train, but you still might have, depending how slammed the parks are, you might have some spillover a little bit towards the Speedway. But I think getting over it, you have to basically pick your half of the park that you're going to have to attempt to get on some rides. So I would probably start your engines for waiting online. Gosh, if it's at 9 o'clock, I would say around like 8:15, get on your first attraction. That if you're going to do like a 2 or 3 attraction sprint during the fireworks, I think 8:15 is probably when you want to get into queue. What do you think? Is that a good time, or would you wait to even closer to 9?
I mean, I guess you got to check the length of the lines and stuff like that, but I would think more like 8:30ish, unless you're doing like Mine Train or something like that.
I'm not trying to time it. I'm just trying to get like just line reduction, right? I want to get a miss. I don't know if we have any data that's like per minute between like 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock hour, how the wait times shift, type of thing. But I'm willing to bet it would be somewhere between 8 and 8:30. The lines start thinning out because people are getting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that I'm thinking like for that type of reasoning, like start getting over. That's my thought process with that one. Okay, so we solved that, which is great. Back to our notes. So I think what are our top 5 attractions then? We got the 3 for viewing. And then which ones are you taking advantage of that you would want to do? You want to do Jungle Cruise and one of the Splash Mountain or something? Was your last two?
Yeah.
Just summarizing.
So what do we go with the view? So it's People Mover, Astro Orbiter,
I think
Big Thunder, Splash, and Jungle.
I think I'm ordering it Splash, People Mover, Astro Orbiter.
Okay.
Those are my top 3. And I'm probably going to attempt to do Mine Train and then dash over to Haunted Mansion because I've already probably done it once or twice already that day. So I want to round out my day with that. And then Pirates after it because no one's going to be on Pirates and the park's open for another 2 hours. So you're probably over
Pirates.
there to kind of take advantage of people just because another thing you have to realize, most people might not realize the park's open to 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
And people automatically, as soon as the fireworks are over, they just exit the park.
Yeah.
So if you've got kids, get them taking a nap in the middle of the day, and you'll get most of your touring done between that 9 and 11 o'clock hour. And if you stay for fireworks, you're minimizing that to watch it, untangle yourself, and hop over to the park. So if you want to watch fireworks, watch them on the edges of the crowd, so you can kind of skirt over to your attraction. Okay, so now last week we introduced a new segment, Phil. Genie's idea by you, inspired by Matt, I think.
Yep.
And last week we talked about dining you're looking forward to do on your next trip. So we used a nifty new feature on Discord called Events. It was an amazing success, actually. It really focused a good topic for the whole week or the 5 days that we ran it. And we had a lot of good discussion. A lot of people just started talking about what's their favorite dining rather than what they're going to do, which is natural, of course. So why don't you go with yours first, and then we'll go with mine. And then we have 2 community entries in that.
So the first one that came to mind that I really want to do, because our trip in December, we're going to be staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge with a Savannah view balcony, is I want to get Sanaa to go.
Oh, okay.
So what you can do is get the bread service and whatever other food we want, and then eat it out on the balcony with an adult beverage or 2 while we watch the animals and stuff like that.
I need to think about that because that's kind of genius. Yep, I think that's really good. I think like taking it because a lot of these restaurants didn't do to go until COVID times, right?
Yep.
So they're still doing that, and now you can go chill in your room. Or you're getting a 1-bedroom, right, at AK?
Correct. Yeah. So we have kind of like that double long balcony too.
The kids can go to sleep or kind of go somewhere else, and like you can have maybe some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
At that point, right, and have and just relax. Now, have you done research on what kind of animals might be around in the dusk time frame in this?
I haven't done enough of that, and I know it kind of depends on where because we're staying at Kidani Village, and there's sort of those 2 rings. So whichever ring you're on, it's a little different too. So I do probably need to research that, make sure that there are some animals out there, and not we're just looking at trees.
When you do your trip report, just pretend there was some giraffe or 2. And like, yes,
oh my God,
it was amazing.
And then a lion got loose and ate one of the zebras, and oh my God, it was amazing.
But at least getting that bread service and like chilling in a balcony, like when do you ever really get to like just relax at Disney?
Exactly.
Because you typically don't have a room unless you're getting a house or something else like that off property. You very rarely have a big enough room where you can relax without stepping on everybody, right?
Exactly.
So I'm thinking that's an excellent idea. For me, I think we talked about this already on a number of shows. It's Steakhouse 71. I'm not a big red meat eater on a daily basis or a weekly basis at all, just because it's not good for you, I guess, to eat a lot of red meat. But I love a good hamburger. And people you have and a lot of others have raved about the hamburger at Steakhouse 71. Yep. And there is I don't know if we did this on air or post show, Phil, but I couldn't remember Wellington the last time we talked about this. But there's a vegetarian Wellington at Steakhouse 71 that I think my wife.
Yeah, my wife got that and she loved it, so that's a good option too.
Yeah, so you gave us when we went down in September. You gave us you hooked us up with an idea that I didn't know existed at the Harbor House. Or do I get that right? At Magic Kingdom, your wife had a vegetarian, like a hummus plate or something.
Well, there is a vegetarian one there. There's also a really good vegetarian like hummus thing at Docking Bay 7 in Galaxy's Edge.
Well, she got that, but that wasn't your recommendation. Your recommendation was the one in Magic Kingdom, and she loved it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say you're gonna have to be 2 for 2 on this one.
Okay.
So, or your wife is. Okay, so I want to go with. I picked out 2 decent suggestions here. This one's in Stitch in MN or Stitch in Minnesota, I'm assuming. He says that he's looking forward to trying it Salt and Straw. I know the reviews are mixed, but I have high hopes. There's an ice cream shop, Love Creamery, about 2 hours north of me in Duluth, which has the most delicious ice cream and great flavors, combos. He has goat cheese and honeycomb, and he's hoping that Salt and Straw is similar. Do you often, like, I think you have, or at least you've talked about it, plan on different, like, desserts? Because you have St. Angel in for a dessert.
Yeah,
too,
that's
so.
the other thing I'm thinking of doing is our, like, break time during our Epcot days. I'll try to get, like, a late lunch, early dinner at San Angelo Inn, which is the one inside the Mexico Pavilion. Just really for the dessert, the special 50th dessert they have there, which is the chocolate pyramid with like a tres leches cake thing inside and stuff that people say is pretty amazing. So I was thinking I might book that just for like drinks and apps and then get the dessert. And otherwise, I think we'll be there for the Festival of the Holidays. So we'll probably largely be doing food booths for the rest of the time at Epcot.
Right. I'm just trying to double check one thing on. Gosh, I don't have it right here. So, do you often special plan for desserts when you're? I'm not a sweet person at all.
Yeah.
So I typically
the only
don't
one
do
we
that.
do is we do have like our family tradition of having one meal made up of Dole Whip. So we always make a Dole Whip stop. So if that qualifies, I mean that's more of usually a snack than a dessert.
I don't think that really counts because that's just kind of like self-serve ice cream. That's not as much as a special dessert for you guys. It's not a fancy dessert by any means.
Yeah.
Right?
Otherwise, we usually don't. I mean, like we'll scope it out if we know where we're eating. We'll like look at the dessert menus and stuff, but we usually don't. It's usually not a driving force.
Well, I mean, like there's a lot of great places at Disney Springs where Salt and Straw is, and a lot of people plan their days around the cookies and donuts and all this other type of stuff. It's just like I don't want all that sugar sitting inside me in the day. I'd rather have all the sugar from like a tasty drink sitting inside me rather than a 5-pound cookie.
Yeah, we do more like snacky stuff than like baked goods.
Well, here's
not to say we don't occasionally stop there like at some place, but it's not usually a planning thing.
And I gave Matt had his idea that he's doing. I don't know. He's not doing it this trip, but he's doing it for his December trip. He wants to say Artist Point is by far the most new table service he can't wait to do. He did it in 2008 before it was a character meal. He added the Evil Queen and the dwarves. Was it 2019 or was it the end of 2018?
It was it was definitely before COVID. I think it was just 2019.
Okay, so it was relatively new when it got shut down. Due to everything. And then he says anything at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which you'll be able to taunt him about with Sanaa and your bread service. I am super stoked for getting any chance to go to Animal Kingdom Lodge, try any of that stuff, and potentially, if it's on our 4-park day, we're starting at Animal Kingdom, maybe we'll go over to Animal Kingdom Lodge for lunch because we've done everything in the last 5 hours at Animal Kingdom.
I mean that could work, and then pick up the bus to whatever next park you're going to from the lodge. Yeah, that works.
So we might do something like that. We were supposed to hang out at Sanaa for lunch the last time I was supposed to go. But we'll see. So Matt's going to try Artist Point. I've had Artist Point circled on all of my planning material for like the last 2 years. Ever since we booked our next trip late 2019, of course, and then the world changed. And every single time I've planned I've had 3 canceled trips during COVID. Artist Point. I had reservations for Artist Point every single time. So I mean, there's a lot of places like Hoop-de-Doo I'm looking forward to trying because I've never been. We were supposed to go. Blah blah blah. I mean, there's so many. I'm a foodie. I love eating at different restaurants, and with my young kids, I usually don't go because not spending that type of money on my kids eating type of thing. And the places I want to go are like where we stay on the dining plan are usually 2 credits, and I'm not a big fan of using 2 dinner credits on a restaurant. So if you guys haven't participated, go check on Discord. You can go scroll up and see everybody else's suggestions. So if you're looking, there was a great discussion. So if you're looking for ideas for your next trip, you can hop on there and kind of just see what everybody else is talking about, see if something matches up that you haven't tried before. We'll just go in and say, hey, I'm going here. What should I have? And then you'll get 1,000 opinions of telling you where you should definitely eat. Why don't you introduce next week's topic, which will start, I think, what did we run this? We ran it Wednesday through Saturday?
Yeah, we kicked it off noon on Wednesday and ran it for 3 days through Saturday at noon.
Okay, so what are we talking about this week?
So next week, we're going to shift from dining to resorts. And sort of a similar question as last time. One is, well, we're going to have 2 parts to it this time, though. The first is, what resort would you like to try that you haven't stayed at yet? So what's kind of like your dream resort, or just one that you haven't been to yet that you'd like to try? And then on the flip side, and maybe people won't have this one, but I'm just curious if there are any resorts that people have stayed at that either they didn't really like or just kind of like, okay, I did it, I don't need to stay there again type thing. So which one that you have stayed at would you most likely not go back to?
That's interesting. Do you have a resort? Can we spoil what your resort that you won't not want to go back to? Do you have one, Phil?
So I do have one. It's not like I hated it, and like if somebody was gonna pay for me to stay there, I'd happily stay there again. But we have stayed at the Contemporary, and it was cool, but I wasn't like over the moon with it. And at that price point, there's other ones that I'd rather stay at, or at least try that I haven't been to. Like, it's a really cool concept. Like, the kids were like losing their mind when we're like, wait, we're staying at the one the monorail goes through and stuff like that. And the rooms were nice. And like, we had a theme park view, which was really cool. But like, I don't know. It kind of feels like, okay, we've done that. You know, I don't know if I need to do it again. So
if I'm staying on the monorail loop, I think all right, rank the monorail resorts in likelihood of you wanting to stay there.
Of the three, I mean, I really want to stay at the Polynesian. I haven't stayed there yet.
I agree.
So that's number one. I mean, I don't know about the Grand Floridian, because sometimes when I go there, I kind of feel like a little out of place. Like, it just seems a little frou-frou for me.
I have zero interest in staying at the Grand Floridian.
But I will say, if we ever like rented, say, DVC points or something, the villas there look pretty nice.
I would do Contemporary number 2, only because of the functionality of being able to walk to Magic Kingdom. That's
true. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yep.
Grand Floridian.
Although you can do that from Grand Floridian now, but it's further.
Yes, you can. But my brother-in-law and his wife have stayed at Grand Floridian almost every single time they go down. You know, she goes down for conferences, and she usually gets a pretty good rate. They've never raved about it, but they like it.
Yeah.
But I've also heard some bad stories about it because of certain upkeep requirements or needs that some of the rooms might have had. So, all right. So look for that starting Wednesday at noon. Hop on. It's running all through Saturday. So that's what the aim of the conversation is going to be. So pop on with some places that you want to go to and some places that you probably would not like to go to again. And if you can kind of fill in us on the story, we'll tell your story on next week's show as well. So where can they find us on social media, Phil, to make sure that they want us to showcase their story, they can kind of point us in that right direction?
Yep. Yeah. And the engagement's on Discord, but if you comment on social media, we'll look at it there as well. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the DBC Pod, and then of course the Discord server.
Excellent. So this week's Attractionality is the Tomorrowland Speedway. Drivers, start your engines, take a wheel of a gas-powered car, and strap yourself in for an exciting and scenic drive. As the checkered flag is waved, you're off. Accelerate around the sharp bends and lush foliage. Spot iconic attractions visible from the roadway and pick your pace as you sprint to the finish line. Featuring a working gas pedal, steering wheel, your car can navigate up and down inclines and round turns. It's a nostalgic drive that will have you smiling for miles. Maybe not miles, but nostalgic is probably the key word in that description.
Yes,
for sure. He also, Phil, you also read it as smelling.
The first time I read it, I thought it said smelling for miles, which is probably also accurate.
Very, very accurate. Did you change the picture in here? I want to say, because now I don't have that. I have the questions here that I wanted to look at. Anyway,
okay.
Question number 1: how much do you like the concept of this attraction, Phil?
So I like the concept of it. I know it's a little outdated. I know a lot of theme parks have something similar, but the idea of, race cars that kids can actually, push the pedal and drive and stuff like that, I think it's a good idea. So, but it's not super unique at this point. So I give it a 4.
I'm trying to get back to where I scored this, and I had it, and it's all off here. Excuse me for a moment. Here we go. Go back. I gave this a 4. I like the idea of an open space where you're having fun. It's, the kids love it. And you actually get to do something rather than just being passive in your engagement with the attraction. So I like that as well. Question number 2, how well do you think Tomorrowland Speedway delivers for its target audience? And what do you think the target audience is?
Yeah, so for me, the target audience is kids that are excited about driving. But obviously that's a small portion of the total attendance. But I think for them, for the most part, it delivers. I don't know if it blows their minds as much as the concept does. But I think it delivers, so I give it a 4 as well here.
I give it a 4 as well because kids love driving things. Like my kids, even when you go to Hershey Park or something else like that, we have an attraction that's basically the same thing, but in bigger, kind of taller cars or whatever. Yeah. Knoebels in Pennsylvania has a similar attraction as well. The kids, 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds, love the fact that they're driving something, right? Yeah. So it definitely delivers for kids, and it's obviously the target audience is not for anybody over 12, I would imagine. Yeah. At this point. Unless it's nostalgia because you loved it when you were 10 and now you're on it with your kids at 5 to 10 year olds. How much do you personally enjoy Tomorrowland Speedway?
I gave it a 2. I still have some enjoyment with it. I still have fun with my kids. I've ridden other versions of it at other Disney parks that I enjoyed better. So I think there is still fun to be had in the concept. So that's why I didn't give it a 1. But with the smell and how hot the queue is and everything, it's not it's not a wonderful experience. So
I jokingly gave this a 5 only because I just love being on it with my kids, and I'm riding the whole thing with a cell phone held up in front of us, just have on my son and I kind of seeing their reactions and me yelling at them to get in line, get in the middle, screaming. I would probably give this a 1 for personal enjoyment. I don't think the ride is shorter. It smells. The queue stinks. There's really not enough. You don't feel like you're racing anybody, right? They don't do a job where the line if they had 4 lanes, right, and 4 cars pull off, go, and then wait 2 seconds, 4 more, go type of thing. It would be a little bit more interesting, but it's just kind of like a little loop that you drive on. And I don't personally enjoy it. By the way, 15 other people voted with a 1 on this attraction too, which might have been a first. Until you get to the 4th question. How well do you think Tomorrowland Speedway fits into Tomorrowland and the Magic Kingdom? I gave this a 1. Phil, I would imagine you might have given this a 2 or a 1.
I gave it a 2. And again, I think part of it is I think there's a potential way they could update it to fit. And I do still think it fits in Magic Kingdom. It's kids living out a fantasy type thing. So that's why I think it's greater than a 1. For example, I rode it in Hong Kong Disneyland where they had changed it over to electric cars and had all futuristic signs around and stuff. And it fit into Tomorrowland much. It was still kind of a retro Tomorrowland, but it still looked more like Tomorrowlandish than this 50s roadster look type thing. So I think simple changes could make it fit pretty well. So that's why I give it a 1. But yeah, obviously the way it is now, it does not fit into anything approaching Tomorrowland.
I give it a 1 just on physical fit and then themed fit. We don't have to get into why everybody wants to see this attraction go type of thing, which leads to our follow-up question. The obvious follow-up is what would you replace with it and how would you change it? We've ourselves beaten that horse to death. Yeah. And everybody else and their mother. That's the second time I've said that today. Have done similar stories. So, what is your argument for keeping it as a ride, whether it's electric or gas powered, but keeping it? So, my
argument for keeping it is exactly what you were talking about with your kids. I think kids still enjoy the concept, and like I said, with some minor updates, making it electric, adding futuristic noises, adding scenery and stuff like that, make it fit in with the Tron look. I think it would fit really well and wouldn't have the smells and stuff like that. So that's my argument for keeping it, is that it still has potential. Okay. And even as is, a lot of kids still enjoy it and it's nostalgic and that sort of thing.
I mean, I think that's an okay argument, hooking it on nostalgia. I mean, you could say that about a lot of attractions. I'm going to have to go with, let's assume, the refresh it, they make it look a little bit better and stuff like that. Let's assume that's going to happen. I think you have to keep it because you can't put anything else there in its place realistically. I'm a stickler for theming and a good show. A show building right there is just going to blot out Tron even more, which is why the placement for Tron is kind of suspect at best, or sus, as the kids say it these days. So what else would you put there, right? It would be like a Moana water feature type of thing, or it'd be like another stage that's kind of silly sitting in the back of Tomorrowland. Anyway, like Tomorrowland's not themed well at all, which just kind of shows you they're on the side of the gift shop for Space Mountain. They're starting to take off all the spires and reshape things. It's obvious that they know that's just kind of random stuff is there. I'm sure the steel palm trees and all that other type of stuff is soon to be gone as well, if they're not already down already. But no, I think you can't put anything there. So why not stick like a flat attraction that doesn't get in the way of sight lines? Yeah, and I mean, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I mean, you know, we've been talking about like, well, now what's the future, the view of the future, and it is more, people are thinking more green and things like that. So maybe they could put almost like a park or something like that. But
you need something that's
I think that's a good point. Like, yeah, what could you put there that wouldn't just block out Tron or whatever? Like you said, you can't really have a show building there. So
I would do boat races, make it all a waterway, right? That'd be different. Maybe get those submarines out of storage somewhere and have submarine races. I don't know. All right, so last segment on the show, we've got a bunch of stuff. But usually when we have a good 20 minutes left in the show, we have like a catch-all type of thing of what everybody else is talking about. Phil, why don't you run us down and we'll give our opinions of what people are talking about.
All right, so the first one that a lot of people are talking about is now Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind has been open to more and more people getting to ride it. There's annual pass holder previews going on now. I think there's been some DVC ones as well. So it's not just media and cast members and stuff like that. You're getting kind of quote unquote regular people getting to ride it. So there's been obviously a lot of people sharing reviews, including some people on our Discord server. And so that's what I think people are talking about is the ride in general, how it's being received, but then also, you know, maybe are there some muted views about it that maybe aren't as positive? Obviously the question of does it fit into Epcot keeps coming up and stuff like that. So that's one of the big topics that I think has been coming on. So what are your thoughts about what you've been seeing from takeaways from the ride?
I mean, I've been trying to go spoiler free for a lot of the stuff. Yeah. So I've kind of only seen like the Twitter 2-sentence reactions to a lot of this stuff. So I haven't watched any videos about it because I want to go in blind like I did Rise. So I'm not surprised that it's getting some general good reviews, right? It's not getting like this is the best thing in the world type of thing. I mean, this attraction is being built for what, 4 or 5 years at this point, or something that long, and it's been lots of money. Is that going to hurt Disney by saying like we have this great attraction, everybody loves it, but it's not like all the way up here for the money that you're paying for type of thing? I don't know, but when everybody's saying it's great, they're basically saying this is what Space Mountain 2.0 as far as the style and everything else that goes around into it. I like it. It gets me excited that it's not like it's not like, oh, it's too thrilling or it's like, you know, too crazy. You're not spinning like a huge amount in there. Like that's the one thing I was worried about. But I'm happy with it. Like, I mean, generally, even on Diz Twitter where people get trolly or start like criticizing the smallest, I haven't seen any of that, which is surprising. Or I mean, maybe I haven't been digging enough, but like there has been no general negative opinion on it at all. Have you seen anything in that way?
So I haven't really seen much real like negative. I've seen a few people, and I had put a link to what one follower that I have who's really good about reporting news, Alicia Stella. She said, "Did I like it? So to her, she really was impressed by it, but she wasn't blown away by it." And I think that's sort of like the worst takes I've seen, which is still fairly good. She definitely said she enjoyed it, and she wrote it again and said she enjoyed it more, and because she wasn't trying to like figure out the story, she was just trying to enjoy it and enjoyed it. I have seen some people say they're getting motion sickness from it.
I heard that, yes.
Because there are parts, not spoilers, that Disney's obviously said that the cars turn like an omnimover, so there are parts where you're kind of like turned to the right, but the vehicle's still moving quickly straight, so you're not like going the way you're looking, and that can make some people get kind of like car sickness and stuff like that. For most people, I think it's not bad, but that is an issue some people are having. And then I'm seeing, just people saying it doesn't belong in Epcot because it's Guardians of the Galaxy and has nothing to do with education and stuff like that.
I think you said it best last week or the week before. This is the new Epcot.
Yeah.
We want to get you stop thinking about the educational kind of learning park out. Like that's no longer going to be a thing. It's totally invested in just another fun type of thing. Now there's a space theme, there's going to be a land theme, and whatever they do with the Imagination building down the road. And then there's Spaceship Earth. That's just going to be a thing, right? Yeah. So it's just going to be a party park essentially with some stuff.
And the one thing I would say is obviously, it's got the Guardians of the Galaxy, so it can't be like 100% realistic. But they have said that in the Q part where they show like the planetarium part, which they've been showing. Where they actually talk about our galaxy and stuff like that, they are sharing factual statements. So they are like interesting fact. Like if you're paying attention, you will still learn something. So they're trying to fit it in the idea of like a real situation, but obviously then things go haywire and that sort of thing.
The one thing that was surprising to me is that nobody's expectations for this attraction were very high before going in, right? So I guess it was easy for Disney to meet those expectations because no one was expecting like the new Flight of Passage or the next Rise of the Resistance, right? They were saying this is going to be a roller coaster. It's not going to be like Velocicoaster, super thrilling. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of show elements, and it's going to be fun. And I think everybody unanimously agrees that it's a fun attraction, and they would go on again, type of thing. So that's good. So we've heard
the only other negative thing I've seen is, and I've been trying to avoid a lot of it, but I did see some clips of this, and not to spoil things, but obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy are part of the preview. The acting is not great. It looks like they might not have even been told their lines, like they're reading cue cards and stuff like that. Try not to focus on that. So I think, if you start picking some nits, you can find some things, but overall, I think everyone's like, look, it's a really fun ride. It's going to be a great addition to the park, and just go and enjoy it.
Yeah, have some fun. All right. So what else is everybody talking about, Phil?
So there's still kind of percolating some rumors about changes coming to Genie Plus. We don't really know the details of it. But some people are even saying, if you have a trip later in this year, you might want to pre-purchase Genie Plus just in case the changes are less desirable.
Disney will grandfather in the benefits of when you purchase them.
Exactly.
Change them outright.
Yeah. So whether it's just raising the price, making them more restrictive, maybe they'll add instead of adding benefits for staying on site, they'll make it more punitive for not staying on site or something like that. We don't really know the details of it, but it's something to keep in mind on. I mean, obviously we've talked about it in the past. They were sending out a lot of surveys about it to people, so they know it's not working ideally.
And there's
going to be changes coming, but it sounds like there might be some, probably not wholesale changes, but some
tweaks.
Minor changes sooner rather than later.
And there if you pay attention to WDW Magic forums, there's a couple people that you could recognize their name. There's things are percolating around. So I probably wouldn't be surprised if you see something mid-June as you kind of tweak things for the summer potentially. I can't for the life of me think of what they can do with Genie Plus to even make it better other than, just functionality, like allowing you to change without canceling, getting you whatever window you select is the window you actually get. So it reserves it on selection, not on authentication. But those aren't like big changes. Those are just like expected like quality of life fixes that you would expect on a modern app. Right. So I'd be surprised if there was major structural changes to it. I suspect if there's going to be anything, it's going to be limiting, to day guests or off-site guests or something else like that, or maybe you won't be able to get it until you actually walk into the park. You won't be able to pre-purchase, beforehand. Like you have to get into the park and then start using it, so the people that are staying on property can use it in the morning and they're not fighting against, I doubt that they're going to do that to annual passes, but like basically off-site guests or day guests, locals, that type of thing. And then I suspect if they're going to change anything, it would allow on-site guests, not APs, to be able to book early, whether that's day before or week before or whatever. I suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect that they might make it close to FastPass Plus for resort guests only. In some fashion, whether it's you could start booking the day you arrive or the week before you arrive. I don't know. I have nothing. But that's how I suspect that Disney might start thinking, because they want people staying on property, right? That's their main goal, and they want to because if there is a summer dip in reservations, which some people are speculating might be coming, they're going to want to entice people to come stay on property again, because there is a message out there that staying on property at Disney is not worth the money at this point. And a lot more people are talking about where else can they stay, which I find interesting, Phil, because you are actually staying on property this time and not off property. So you're bucking the trend on that one. But
I have friends going down, like we shared the tiering list of attractions that I put together for them. Mm-hmm. I did also put together a list of quick service options, because that's what they're thinking of doing, but they're doing some Disney and some Universal. And what they decided to do is they're staying at, the value resort over at Universal the entire trip, because it was just so much more fun. They're a family of 6 and they fit into a room in there. It was Endless Summer. Okay. So versus staying in 2 rooms on Disney property or a villa that fits 6 or something like that, like it was just so much more economical that's what they're doing. Yeah. So
the only place that fits 6 at Magic Kingdom, Hollywood, I keep naming parks, at Walt Disney World is the cabins, which are $400 plus a night. The family suite at Art of Music.
Animation.
I think it's Art of Animation, and then All Star Music. Excuse me, I was mixing up the two. All Star Music. It's like just short of $400 a night, and Art of Animation is like $450 a night or so. Last time I checked, that was about a year ago, though.
Sometimes even higher too.
Yeah, depending on the year, of course. And those resorts, if I'm spending money for a party of 6 to go down there, I want better accommodations than All Star or Art of Animation at that point.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else are people talking about, Phil?
So there was a rumor, Disney did shoot it down, speaking of value of staying on site, there was a rumor reported by DWNT that Disney is going to start charging for housekeeping. So in the past, it was included, but then if you wanted to opt out, they would give you a gift card, to entice you to not use housekeeping. The rumor saying now they'll go the other way, where if you want housekeeping, you'll have to pay extra for it. Now, Disney has come out and said that report is not factual, that sort of thing, but WDWNT said they also said the same thing when there was a rumor of charging for parking, and then 2 years later or whatever, they did wind up starting to charge for parking.
So you're saying we have 2 years before we have to charge for house?
I mean, I have no idea if it's factual or not. To me, it sounds like something that they're considering, and we know there's issues with housekeeping. There's issues hiring enough staff. Staff turnover is really high, so they know that they can't really efficiently do housekeeping for all of these rooms every day. So they need to do something. And so whether it's charging for it, whether it's, I think maybe a compromise could be it's included, since we're already charging you like 40% more than the value of the room probably is, but you have to request it. We're not just going to automatically do it. So this way we're only going to the rooms where people actually really want it, or something like that. But it's something they're looking at, and they're looking at how can we address this issue, because there's also reports of like a lot of rooms not being ready on time because there's just not enough staff to get them turned over and stuff like that. So they need to figure out something, and I'm sure there's all sorts of options on the table, and this is probably just one of them.
Now, I don't know this to be true, but I've heard stories that if you go on a day where that there's a high checkout day and book your arrival day for that, there's a good chance that just to get you in a room, you might get an upgrade in a room. Disney often does that quite a bit, rather than if you go in, like I'm not advocating that you go in and give anybody a hard time in like I need my room now. Like let's say your check-in's at 3:00. Is it 3:00 for Disney?
4:00.
4:00. Let's say it's 4:00. You're like, if I'm not in now, I'm like, and then you start, don't make a scene. But if it starts getting a bit later, it's like, you ask them, is there anything you could do for me? Do you have any room available that you could put me in? We've been traveling all day. We're tired, blah, blah, blah. They might stick you in a better room. So, it doesn't hurt to ask, but just don't expect it, right? It might be like a little thing to, I don't know, hack your way into a better room. Not advocating it, but I've heard it. It's happened to people when it's happened accidentally, right? They just plan their vacation type of thing. I am not a housekeeping guy. I always turn it down, Phil. I do not like people in my room at all.
Yeah, we usually don't need it. I liked when we could get a gift card for not getting it.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people love it. They're on vacation. I don't want to do the cleaning. I want my bed turned down and I want all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if maybe they could ask for it. You would include it. Especially feels like for the deluxe resorts. Like, we were talking about Grand Floridian. I'm spending $700 a night.
Yeah.
And then you're going to charge me another $20 a night if
That's
I want the room clean. Like, that's a bit much. Like, I get it for maybe the values and stuff like that. But
even the moderates. I mean, you're not paying that much more now. Like Disney's hotel prices haven't raised tremendously, while a stay at the Hampton Inn or a Hilton Garden Inn can get in the $250s now a night in certain locations. So it's not too far off. But yeah, if you're staying at a deluxe, you're thinking that I'm having a pampered vacation.
Exactly.
So you want fresh towels every single day. I mean, like if I'm going and staying in a moderate or any other hotel where I'm just kind of staying for a couple days or a night or something else like that, I don't mind reusing my towels. It's just like whatever. It's better than having somebody potentially sort through my stuff as they come in type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if I'm staying at like a resort, not a Disney resort, but like, tropical vacation resort or, even at Disney, I want to be pampered. I want a fresh towel every single day, right? I want to take a shower in the morning, and I want a fresh towel when I take a shower before I go to bed because I've been out in the sun all day long, right? And plenty of towels, so I don't have to use the same towel and then go to like the side pool when they might not have additional towels there for whatever reason. I want fresh towels in my room to dry off. I mean that's the only thing I want from housekeeping is basically I want fresh towels. I don't usually have a lot of garbage in my room that needs to be taken out. And like, I know my, when we go to, we get significant amount of food when we go down there with the kids, like the yogurts and breakfast and stuff like that. But I don't mind bagging up the garbage and putting it outside my room for somebody to come by and just snag it as they're walking through property.
Yeah. I mean, as long as they take care of that, or they tell you like, here, put your garbage here if it fills up. I know the last time we stayed at Caribbean Beach, even a couple times people came by and just were like, hey, you need fresh towels. That's, they didn't clean the room, but they had a housekeeping come by and sort of check if we needed anything. So I think that helps a lot, and that's probably sufficient for most people. But yeah, I think for some people want it, and for it to, like I said, be an extra $20 or whatever on top of what you're spending for the Grand Floridian seems a bit much.
Yeah, you got your room charge, you got taxes, state taxes and state tourism fees, you got your parking, you got your housekeeping. You're soon going to need like a bracelet to walk into the food court to buy food, right? You need a Magic Band access to the food court.
Start charging you for Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh gosh, can you imagine if they started doing that? Don't even.
You have to use the app, but you have to pay for Wi-Fi.
Don't even say that, Phil. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. All right, we're at the end of the show, Phil. You had a DVC recommends this week. That you put in there, and I've already downloaded all the music and was using it today at dinner. So what's going on?
So here? I'll send out this tweet. I mean, I was already commenting on it, and I shared it all over Discord. But somebody his Twitter handle is Some Stuff I Said, but he also goes by Honey I Shrunk Nathan Hartman. So I'm assuming his name is Nathan Hartman. But he put up just on a Google Drive basically all the music at every Disney park and all the resorts in Disney Springs. The post I saw, it goes, anybody want 37 hours of Epcot attractions and loop music? I was like, yes. And if you go there, it's like literally everything. You could just download everything. There's one for, the resorts. There's one just for the Christmas music. There's like, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, like everything you can think of. And
there's background music. Pirates has like 3 songs. So there's like the Adventureland Near Pirates music.
Yeah.
Then you have the queue music, and then you have the attraction music. So like this is absolutely. So what I did with my family at dinner time today was basically I played a song. I'm like, you have to guess the park and the place, right? Of course, I got little kids that are not going to be able to do. They did pretty good. My daughter actually got Norway from listening to the music, which I'm actually quite impressed because that was quite a while ago that we were there. And then my wife started getting competitive and started jumping in front of the kids while naming the locations. It was a lot of family fun. And because I downloaded it and I put it into my own Google Drive, I was actually playing it from my phone and hooking it to like a Bluetooth speaker. So we were having a lot of fun with that. And there is so much there. It might replace. We listen to D Park Radio every single night, so there's another DBC recommends from the past there, just to kind of play like park music, and they just play all sorts of random stuff. This is all in there. The only thing that's missing is like the monorail loops, or I haven't found them. So like the monorail stuff.
Yeah, they might be in there. I mean, there are resort stuff, so maybe it's included in there. But and there is also, it's not just the current stuff. So if you go to the Epcot one, there's Horizons music, and then it has like multiple main entrance tracks. So do you want the main entrance from 1982? Do you want the main entrance from 2005? Like everything is there, and it's just like free. So it's great. So yeah, love the internet sometimes.
Yeah, that is probably one of the best TBC recommends that we've had ever. So free stuff on the internet, and I've downloaded all of it. I've scanned all of it. So right now it's virus free, unless.
And we've had some people comment, who are audiophile people saying, maybe it's not tip top quality, but it's quality stuff. This isn't just somebody held a microphone up to their speaker or something. Like it's pretty good stuff. Yeah,
and it also shows like album covers too when I was playing it on stuff. So like it was ripped from something. So I know it's very cool. Make sure if you haven't gotten it, get it now. And then once you're on Google Drive, make sure you download all of it, just in case this disappears one day. Who knows? But I managed to grab all of it. All right, Phil. Good show this week, sir.
Thank you.
Everybody, make sure make sure you get on Discord and join the event. It starts Wednesday at noon. We're going to start discussing those resorts, as Phil has alluded to. And I think Matt will be back in a couple days, so you could go and pepper Matt with all of his trip report questions and whether or not his commando-style preparation for Genie Plus and everything else came to fruition. Maybe we can have him on the show in a week or two once he's kind of digested and see how his Genie Plus strategies actually worked. Was it worth the prep outside the fun of prepping for it, right?
Yeah.
Did it have actual function rather than just entertainment purposes? And we'll go from there. That being said, everybody have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, all.